Hello and welcome to Algebra 1, Chapter 2.6, and today we're discussing ratios and proportions. So starting out with a ratio, a definition is a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. And there's a few ways you can write ratios, with the word 2 there in the middle, with a colon in the middle, or the way that we're going to write ratios as a fraction, because if I'm comparing them with division, that is essentially a fraction, which does mean that we're going to reduce them, but they do need to be left as fractions, which would be improper, not a mixed number. So moving on from ratios to proportions, a proportion is just an equation that states two ratios are equal to each other. Or in other words, a fraction equals a fraction. The first thing we want to decide is, are these two ratios, do they form a proportion? In other words, does 7/8 equal 49/56? Oops, 56, there we go. And so one way you could do this is you could simplify them. You could, this simplifies. 7 goes into both. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 7 goes into 56 8 times. Yes, they're equal to each other, so yes, this is a proportion. The other way we can look at it, though, we're going to look at it in a second, is we could cross multiply. So if you remember how to do that, put a little bug in your ear, we are going to cross multiply. So we'll talk more about that. Some different words that just don't mean cross multiply, or it's not those words, but we have what's called the means extremes property. And so first of all, the extremes are the middle two numbers in this proportion here. So these two numbers, B and C, those are the means. Now, if you wrote this, A over B, it's an A, and C over D, B and C, this is the means. Okay, and the extremes are the outer two. So A and D are the extremes. So A and D here are the extremes. And so what your means extremes theorem or property says is that the product of the extremes, so the product of A and D, is equal to the product of the means, so the product of B and C. So here we go. So the product of the extremes, so that's going to be AD, equals the product of the means, which is going to be BC. So in other words, we call this cross products. This is what we call cross products or cross multiplication. So continuing with that, to solve proportions, we're going to use cross products. So do your cross products, set your two products equal to each other, and then solve the equation. So looking at n over 12 equals 3 over 8. Okay, if I'm going to solve for n, so our cross products, we're going to take this product, which is going to be 8n, equals this product, which is 36. Okay, and then we're going to solve for n. So divide both sides by 8, and n equals 9/2. I'm a little more lenient on decimals during proportions, but if we can work with fractions, I think that's always the best. Alright, so one more time, solving for our variable, we're going to do cross products. We're going to take this product, which is going to be 40r, equals this product, which is going to be 200, and then divide by 40 because I'm trying to get r by itself. R equals 5. So moving on, we're just going to do some definitions. We'll do examples in class. A rate is a ratio of two measurements having different units. So it's still a ratio, but if we look at the units, maybe you have miles per gallon, or miles per hour, or dollars per hour if you're talking like how much you get paid. These are rates because they have two different units. And we're going to talk about scales, and a scale is a rate or a ratio that compares the size of a model to the actual size of the object using a proportion. So maybe on a map, 1 inch is 5 miles, and we're trying to figure out, so if we're talking 3 inches, how many miles is that? So that would be using a scale to set up a proportion. All right, we will talk about everything else in class, but let me know if you have questions, and have a great day.